Hi everybody, it's Steve here to give you some instructions on how to put a vision cable into our camera enclosure and show you how to actually seal it to make it waterproof. And as you can see, I've already got a camera inside the enclosure. It's a Keyence camera. So the very first thing to remember that when you receive your package, you're going to have 3 fittings in here. They're going to be loose. You can place them wherever you want to. I've chosen to bring the cable in the back of the box. So first thing you want to do is to take this fitting, and you need to, first of all, you need to get rid of this nut on the front of it. You can throw it away. You're never going to use it again. As you can see, this is like a SAE O-ring type enclosure. The O-ring seals up against the surface of the case itself. I'm going to go ahead and remove the back end of this. And we're going to disassemble what's left in here. You'll notice we have a plastic ferrule. Now I'm going to remove, there's a couple of seals in here. This looks like one seal, it's actually 2. I'm going to separate those. Just about got it here. Okay, now one of the reasons for doing this type of assembly is the fact that this becomes part of a seal. It doesn't make it necessarily watertight, it makes it dust proof. But the issue is I've got to get this on over this. Obviously it's not going to happen, it won't fit. So we have an alternative method here. I'm actually going to cut this seal with a pair of scissors. I'm just going to make a straight cut right through the middle of it. And now it's a cut, as you can see. I'm going to take the nut and place it over the cable. Then I'm going to take this big seal, if you will, big ring, place it over there. Then I'm going to take the one that we just cut. Now I can put it around the cable. By the way, the Keyence, as far as cable sizes go, at this point in time, I think there's 2 different sizes. There's a 6mm and there's I think it's a 7mm diameter cable, approximately. This is the smaller of the 2. So this technique will work for either one. I'm going to take this ferrule and place it back in here like this. Okay, now we're going to take this fitting, place it in the back of the enclosure. Once again, O-ring side in. It's the only way that it'll fit, I believe. And I'm going to take the plastic piece. We're going to insert it. Little quarter turn thing here. Do that again. You can see it'll snap in there when you turn it. Now I'm going to take the cable all the way through here. I'm going to bring all the way in to the camera and actually connect it up and tighten it down a couple of turns here, so you can now see that the cable's attached to the camera. Okay, now we're going to take this subassembly, seal subassembly, push it in the back of the plastic grommet, if you will. Then we're going to take this nut and we are going to hand start and tighten down snug. And then we're going to take a wrench and we're going to go ahead and take this tight. Take a second here. Sorry for the time delay. I'm going to be sure to take this down nice and snug to where it's pretty tight. can see the back end of this little rubber seal sticking out the back. It's inside the collet, if you will, or the grommet, and it's collapsed it. But as I said, probably for dust tight applications, it's probably good enough, but certainly water can go through there. Believe me, we know because we've tested it. Okay, now I'm going to remove the cable from the camera. Okay, it's loose in here. Now I'm going to take this whole assembly out of here. There's a couple ways to do this. My choice is to turn the box, actually. Okay. Now for the fun part. We're going to make it watertight. Probably a lot of different ways to do this. We've actually chosen a pretty simple way. You'll also get a tube of the infamously known JB Weld product. I'm sure most of you have been introduced to this at one time or another. This is what one used to make it waterproof. According to their instructions, when you get the pack, you're supposed to use probably rubber gloves to protect your hands. Being I'm not going to do that in this instructional video. They're my hands, so actually I've done this a couple times and I'm okay with it, but we highly recommend that you do follow their instructions. Okay, we take the JB Weld. I'm going to take a little seal cap off of here. I'm going to take a pair of scissors. I'm going to cut a little bit off the end of this thing. I'll probably regret I'll have this stuff all over my hands, which I'm sure I'm not going to like before it's over with, but okay. Now, it needs to be, if you've ever used this, it needs to be kneaded. Okay, so obviously that's what I'm doing here. Okay, that's probably good enough. Actually, I think I've probably got a little bit more than what I need, so I'm going to tear a little piece off of here. Get a little bit of this off my fingers. Okay, now we're going to take the JB Weld and we're going to press it down inside around the cable. One thing that I probably should have done, I normally do, is to put a piece of tape around the threads so that the JB Weld won't stick to the threads, because you're going to need to get this thing inside the camera box at a later time. Going to get rid of a little excess here. Coming along pretty good. Get a little wet rag here and try to clean up my mess, make it look better. Also going to make sure I get the threads cleaned up. Okay, we're finished with the installation of the JB Weld, and we need to let it cure. So I'm going to have a little fixture. We actually chose to use a piece of 80/20 to do this. Okay, we're going to let that cure and we'll be back. Okay, we're back and ready to proceed. We've had time for the JB Weld to cure, and as you can see, it's pretty rock hard. Wish to point out maybe a couple of things here just to re-emphasize once again the importance of having a dome, if you will, on the JB Weld. Make sure that it's up above the thread a little bit, and then also we talked earlier about having the cable in the center of the connector here. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and complete our assembly. Start the thread, go back to my process of turning the box. Nice and snug here. Okay, we talked earlier about the importance of making sure that that O-ring is secure against the back end of the enclosure. We'll tighten that fitting, I think. Okay, nice and secure. Now I'm going to go ahead and hook up the camera cable to the camera. Tighten the nut on the inside. Operation complete. Backing up to a couple of tips, make sure that you have enough length of the cable on the inside. Maybe, actually might want to show a little bit more than what we have here, just for future application if need be. Also, we need to emphasize the importance of having the camera cable, the camera and lens all the way forward against the front lens of the enclosure. I think we've done a decent job, hopefully, of explaining this to you, and thank you very much for your time.